let's talk about building an engaged audience. I'm not talking about a big audience. I'm not talking about a massive audience. I'm not talking about an audience that looks good on paper. I'm talking about an engaged audience of buyers, people who are willing to talk about, tell their friends, promote, and purchase your products. That is the best type of audience to have. And it doesn't matter how big your audience is, as long as your audience is engaged. Okay. So we're going to talk about the 5 ways that you can build this active, engaged audience. And this doesn't matter what platform you're on, whether this is on email, social media, blog, things like that. This will work for any of those platforms, right? Number 1 is be consistent. This is absolutely huge. You have to be consistent in whatever platform you're marketing on. Now, for me personally, that's email. Email, I'm going to be consistent all day long. It gives me the greatest return on my investment, which means that I am going to give it the best of me. And so you have to pick which platform or which platforms you want to be consistent in, and you have to actually follow through with that. If you're going to send out an email newsletter twice a week, then you need to send it out twice a week, every week, all year long. If you're going to send out an email newsletter once a week, then you need to send it out once a week, every week, all year long. Whatever it is that you're going to do, be consistent with it. If you are going to commit to posting on social media 5 times a week, then you need to do that 5 times a week, every single week. Get the picture, okay? So be consistent and show up consistently. And honestly, that's probably the hardest piece of this puzzle, because it can be really discouraging when you're being consistent, you're showing up, you're putting in all the hard work, but you don't see that return on your investment right away. And that's the thing about this, is that building an active and engaged audience, it takes time. It's not an overnight process. It's not like, oh, I have 1,000 followers on Instagram, they're all ready to buy from me because I'm posting every single day this week. That's not how it works. This is consistency for the long haul, and that's where it gets difficult. But the good thing about that is that it's not just difficult for you, it's difficult for your competitors too. It's difficult for other sellers inside of your niche. And so if you can do this, then you will stand out amongst other sellers, okay? The next thing that you want to make sure you're doing is stay on brand. This is huge, especially on social media, okay? Stay on brand. This means that if I'm posting to social media and I'm going to be consistent about posting 5 days a week, then the vast majority of my content has to be on brand. I can't decide today that I'm going to make a dancing reel, and then tomorrow I'm going to make a sweet mother-daughter video about me and my daughter. And then the next day I'm going to talk about selling on Teachers Pay Teachers. And then the next day I'm going to talk about how I make my morning coffee. And then the next day I'm going to do an outfit of the day on my way to work. Can't do that. That's not on brand. If I want to sell them on me and my lifestyle, then sure, that's going to work. But if I'm trying to sell them on, say, my TPT coaching business, then I need to talk about TPT and coaching. I need to give them things that are actually going to help. And the same thing for you. If you are posturing yourself and you're presenting yourself as the history buff, as the go-to for social studies resources and knowledge, then you need to make sure that you are giving them that. You're giving them knowledge about social studies. You're presenting yourself as an expert, and you are consistently giving them that material. This is not to say that you can't ever talk about or show other parts of your life. That's not true at all. It's just that if you're consistent in showing up, but only 2 out of 5 times that showing up is on brand, meaning has something to do with what it is that you're selling to them. And that doesn't mean that you're selling them a product or anything like that, but we're selling them on the idea of you being an expert in, say, English language arts or speech language pathology or social emotional learning. Then if I'm only showing up 2 out of 5 times to teach them about social emotional learning, then I'm really only consistently posting twice a week. And so those other 3 posts are just kind of a distraction from what it is that I want them to focus on. I think a lot of people think that if they're constantly talking about their niche, that people are going to think they're just coming across as too salesy, and that's not true at all. You can share helpful tips, you can share helpful information, you can share knowledge that you have that's not attached to anything that you're selling. Okay. And by doing that, it's going to establish you as an expert, and it's going to keep you top of mind when they think about your niche or purchasing a product within your niche. Okay, so we want to stay on brand. So stay consistent and stay on brand. The next thing that we want to think about is gathering more than just freebie seekers. So if all I'm doing to build my email list, build activity on my blog, or build activity on my social media platform is giving things away, then I need to stop that. Okay, I need to make sure that I'm doing more than just building an audience of freebie seekers. If I'm constantly giving, then I could find myself in a position where I'm giving things to people who are only ever looking for a deal. And they're only going to ever buy from me when there's a deal, or they're only going to ever pay attention or open my emails whenever there's the word free inside of the email, okay? And I want to make sure that I'm not doing that. I want to build an audience of people who are actually interested in what I'm doing, the products that I'm creating, and actually making purchases from me, because if they're not interested in buying anything from me, I really don't want them as part of my audience, especially if I have an email list or something like that where I'm having to pay for them to be a part of my audience. So let's talk for a second about what that means to attract people who are more than just freebie seekers. You want people on your list who are either willing to invest time or money, because most of the time, if a person is willing to invest their time, they're also willing to invest their money. And so let's talk about how to do that. The first and most obvious way would be to get them to actually buy a product from you and capture their information that way. But that's not always going to be the easiest thing, especially when you're first starting out. Now, later on, if you're selling resources on your own website, or you're selling a course or something like that, then that is going to be a really easy way to capture those leads. Or maybe you are doing a flash sale for one particular resource only on your own site or something like that. Then you can capture actual buyers. But for most people, that's going to be more advanced. So let's talk about how we can capture people who are interested in giving you some of their time. And that is by asking them to sign up for something that's going to require them to actually watch you and invest time in listening to what you have to say. It's more than just a quick download. It's more than just typing in their email address and getting something quickly inside of their inbox. This is going to take a little bit of time. Or maybe it's asking them to be a part of a closed conversation where they show up and you discuss and share among teachers different ways that they can improve their back to school procedures, classroom management, or things like that inside of your niche. Those are ways that you can ask people to invest their time where they would be willing to give you their contact information, aka their email address, and become a part of your audience or learn about you that would involve an investment on their part. And I'm not saying that this should be the only way that you build your audience. I'm a huge believer in, sure, giving away something for free in exchange for them joining your email list or in exchange for them being part of your community. Absolutely. But I'm just saying it's really great to have this in the mix, because while the quantity of people won't be the same as if you're offering a quick free resource that they can just download immediately, the quality of the people is going to be much higher. And that's also going to do what number 4 talks about, and that is build relationships. It's going to help you build relationships with people. If you're just sending a plain old newsletter every single week and they can't see your face, they can't hear you talk, they can't see your facial expressions, then they're not going to build a relationship with you. You're just going to be the person who shows up in their inbox and tries to get them to buy things. But if you can host webinars or host discussions or things like that, put yourself in a position where you are having conversations with them, where they are seeing you, where you're answering their questions directly, then that's going to build that relationship with them, and it's going to help you have a much more engaged audience, because those people are going to feel like they know you. Now, same for Instagram. With Instagram, if you're showing up on Instagram stories, you're letting them in to see pieces of your life inside of Instagram stories. They see you, they hear you talking, and they hear you having conversations with them. That's going to help let them into your world. So you want to make sure that you're showing up where they can see your face, they can hear you speak, and they're having actual conversations with you. That is a big way to build engagement within your audience. And then finally, number 5, and this is a big one, this is something we don't think about often enough, but that is ask them for something. I wish I could remember who told me this or where the quote was from, but it's from somewhere. And I hope someone listening right now knows where this is from, because I would love to credit the person inside of the description. But they were talking about going to a job interview. And they said that if you go to a job interview, one of the biggest ways that you can immediately build a relationship with the person who's hosting the interview and give yourself an increased chance of getting the job would be to ask them to do something for you, or to agree to let them do something for you. And they gave the example that a lot of times at a job interview, when you sit down, they'll say, hey, can I get you a bottle of water? Would you like some coffee or something like that? Most of the time we say no. because we do not want to trouble them. But they actually said that research and studies showed that if you said yes and you let them get up and go get you a cup of coffee, or you let them go give you a bottle of water, that you were actually more likely to get the job, which is really interesting. But I think the same is true for our email lists, for our social media, and for our audiences. When we ask for something from them, they feel like they're a part of the community. They feel like they know us more, and it really builds that relationship so much stronger. And so this can be really simple. This could be as simple as sending out a survey and saying, I would really like your input on this right here. Or I would like to open up a conversation about this specific problem that teachers are seeing within the classroom, within this niche. And I want to know how you are addressing this situation inside of your classroom, and then sharing that out. This could also be as simple as asking them to do something for you. Like, hey, I would love if you guys would take a look at this new product that I have and tell me what you think about this. Do you think that this new product would actually be helpful inside of your classroom? Now, this serves two purposes, and it's a little bit sneaky. Number one, it gets them to think critically about the product that you are about to give them for free. So instead of just giving them a freebie, they're going to think really critically about it, and they're going to think, oh man, she's making this just for me. She wants this to be perfect for me and for my classroom. She is really considering me, the teacher, the buyer, when she's creating this or when he's creating this. And so because they're seeing that, they're going to be more likely to pay attention as you're rolling out those new products, but you're getting really great market feedback from your buyers before you roll out the rest of those products, but you're going to be building anticipation at the same time because they're going to be so excited to see those resources come out. If you give them a sneak peek, show them that brand new first resource that you've made within the product line, ask for their feedback, and they're going to feel like they're a part of the community. They're going to absolutely love it. So let's do a quick recap. Your 5 ways to build an engaged audience are: number 1, show up consistently. Number 2, when you're showing up consistently, you want to make sure that you are on brand, that you're consistently showing up and presenting yourself in the way that you want your audience to think about you. Number 3, you want to make sure you're gathering more than freebie seekers. Ask members of your audience to either invest time or money on a fairly regular basis. Number 4, you want to make sure that you're building relationships. Make sure they can see your face. Make sure they can hear you talk. You want to make sure that they know who you are. And number 5, you want to make sure that you are asking them for something in return, because that's going to make that relationship between you and your audience a lot stronger and help bridge that gap between that's just the person I know on social media or I see on social media, or that's just the person who sends me an email newsletter every week, to that's the person who cares about me, cares about my classroom, cares about meeting my needs, and a person who values my input. All right, there you have it. 5 ways to build a more engaged audience. If you want to learn more and grow more with me, you can always find me inside of Rebranded Teacher Academy. It's open year-long for new members, and we focus every single month on growing a specific area of your business. You get done-for-you business strategies every single month delivered right to you so that you don't have to wonder what you should do that month to grow your TPT business. All right, I'll see you in the next video.